Well, welcome to part 3 of Narcissism Recovery. We've reviewed what listening means, at least on a surface level, and no doubt you have tried to listen to individuals, hear what their words are, translate them according to what their message is, felt their emotions, and restrained from trying to be the know-it-all in terms of how to solve their problems, and also refrained from devaluing who they were or what they were saying because somehow it wasn't important to you. Bravo in being able to try to execute a compassion and a patience and a listening that really conveys that you are present with your child or your spouse or your coworker or your employee. Because that is actually the step number 1 to you understanding how to recover from your own narcissism. Step number 2 involves you recognizing that one of the reasons you may have become very narcissistic is because actually you feel a little bit depressed or insecure about your own value. This is really hard for people who are very narcissistic and feel very grand about themselves and very self-important and feel like the center of the universe, and that everybody should kind of feel like they're the center of the universe too, because they really actually often don't recognize that if they were not the center of attention, that they'll get depressed. If they don't get everything their way, they'll get angry, but their anger is secondary to a sense of not being important or being invisible. And often people resort to anger or narcissistic flare-ups when they feel like they don't matter, that they're invisible. It's an angst, if you will. It's an anxiety about, am I seen? Am I visible? Am I important? Does anybody really know that I'm here? And that anxiety is a possible shadow that exists inside of you that you need to be able to become really comfortable with. Yes, every individual wonders whether or not they're important or they're valuable. And the fact that we're mortal and that we do die and that our legacy may or may not survive us after we go to the grave is an anxiety for everybody. That's part of death, and realizing what importance have I had on this planet. Now, a person who is used to responding to that anxiety in a narcissistic, self-important way tends to run away from the recognition that maybe our value isn't as big as we wanted it to be, nor as impactful, nor as important. And as a consequence, we feel a little bit sad or depressed, or very sad and very depressed. It's that shadow of, do I really matter, that you want to be able to embrace and say, okay, I don't know if I really matter. I would like to matter. I would like to have value in someone's life, but I can't demand that someone else love me. I can't demand that someone else value me. I can't demand that I maintain some sort of importance in someone else's mind or thought or attentions. I can't demand it. I can demand it, but that doesn't respect that another individual really has the right to choose. So a vexation for a narcissistic individual is that they don't want to recognize that another person has the right to choose to love or not, has to choose to value you or not, or has to choose to spend time with you or not. They have choice. Because if they have choice, then you are left with the feeling of they could choose to not care or value or be around. It is that angst, gee, this person might not choose me, that often makes a narcissistic individual, the person who's adopted a narcissistic way of expressing themselves, gets them to be very attention-getting, very whining, very manipulative, very troubled and upset when they're not getting attention, to the point where they do all sorts of threatening or frightening or dramatic sorts of activities to pull back the other person's attention. It's that the other individual must pay attention to me. They can't pay attention to anybody else. That really is a cover for, I am really worried that I don't matter. So this is the shadow that the narcissistic individual has to come to terms with sooner or later, is recognizing that they are mortal, number 1, and in their mortality, their value may be limited, and number 3, other people have the choice as to whether or not to love or not love or care or value you or not. So some individuals answer this by becoming valuable authentically to other people's well-being. They become valuable to someone's survival, someone's well-being, someone's happiness, someone's sustenance, someone's health, someone's wealth. They become valuable to someone else. And in the actual value that they serve for someone else, they realize that they now have a function and value in society and life. They can move toward giving into society, and their giving profits them backwards into saying, okay, I have a place here. I am making a difference in this world. So that is one way to answer this complication inside of you. Another way that a narcissistic answers this is when they're still in their narcissism, they become depressed and forlorn, suicidal, or dejected. They become very low energy and dysfunctional. And they actually kind of start dysfunctionally forcing other individuals to function for them out of their love, out of their worry, but that they can manipulate someone else to do the functioning for them means that that other person is giving them some form of sick attention because you're now depressed or ill or not feeling good. And that sick attention is compensating for you not functioning in life, which gives you an artificial sense of your value because someone's functioning for you. But that's a trap, and you know it's a trap. It's a way of using depression and illness and sickness in a way to get attention, as opposed to that you are sick and you need assistance and you appreciate that they're there to support you until you get back on your feet to the best of your ability. That's being able to receive from another person when you are in genuine need is very different than forcing someone else to give to you when you are remaining attached unhealthily to your dysfunctionality. And that's another expression of this narcissistic urge to try to convince everybody else that you have value, not because of what you make of your life, not because of what you do, not because of how you help, but you're hoping you just have value just by being you. And as a consequence, you're begging for attention in a way that doesn't really earn the attention that otherwise you would feel self-confident enough to be able to do. The whole idea is this, remember John F. Kennedy once said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And I would say that instead, let's be in a mutual relationship where we do give to others and we also receive lovingly and appreciatively from others as well. We have needs, and you don't have to live in rejection of your own needs, but others have needs too. And so the dance between others' needs and your needs becomes one of a mutuality. Sometimes there's conflict. There's disagreement between whose needs going to get met. But if there's always the feeling of let's make sure that we optimize everyone's profit from a moment, everyone's value from a moment, as opposed to just one person sucking the society or another individual dry. Okay, that's part 3. Take care.